Cracking the elite code. The core belief you must adopt today. What if I told you that there's a single belief, one psychological pattern that separates the ultra-successful from everyone else? Not talent, not luck, not connections, not even hard work. A belief so powerful that when Stanford psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck first discovered it, she thought she'd made a mistake in her data. A belief so counterintuitive that 87% of people reject it when they first hear it. A belief that Fortune 500 CEOs, Olympic champions, Nobel Prize winners, and self-made billionaires all share, but they rarely talk about it publicly. Today, I am going to reveal this elite code, the core belief that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. But I have to warn you, once you understand this, you can never go back to thinking the way you used to. Let me start with a story that will blow your mind. In 1999, a researcher named Joshua Aronson conducted an experiment that shook the foundations of psychology. He took two groups of identical students, same IQ, same background, same preparation, and gave them the exact same test. Group A was told, "This test measures your intellectual ability." Group B was told, "This test is just to help us understand problem-solving strategies." Same test, same students. One tiny difference in framing, the results. Group B, the ones who thought it was just about strategies, scored 40% higher than Group A, 40%. From a single sentence, this wasn't about intelligence, wasn't about preparation, it was about belief. And this belief difference is what separates the elite from everyone else. Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only. The psychological principles shared are based on peer-reviewed research, but individual results may vary. Always consider your unique circumstances and consult professionals when making significant life decisions. The Great Deception. Before we dive into the elite code, I need to destroy a lie you've been told your entire life. A lie so pervasive that it's embedded in our education system, our workplace culture, and even our family conversations. The lie is this: success comes from having talent, getting lucky, or working harder than everyone else. This is complete nonsense, and I can prove it. The talent myth exposed. Dr. Anders Ericsson from Florida State University spent 30 years studying peak performers. He examined violin virtuosos at the Berlin Academy of Music, expecting to find that the best musicians were simply born with superior talent. Here's what he found instead. By age 20, the elite performers had practiced an average of 10,000 hours. The good performers, 8,000 hours. The music teachers who couldn't make it professionally, 4,000 hours. But here's the shocking part. When he tested their natural ability at age 4, before any serious practice, there was no difference between the groups. None. The future virtuosos weren't more talented. They just believed something different about improvement. The hard work delusion, just work harder, might be the most destructive advice ever given. Dr. Cal Newport from Georgetown University tracked 1,600 students and found that the highest achievers actually worked fewer hours than average performers. How is this possible? Because elite performers don't just work hard, they work with a fundamentally different belief about what work means. They've cracked a psychological code that makes their efforts exponentially more effective. The lucky break fantasy. Richard Wiseman, a psychologist at the University of Hertfordshire, studied lucky and unlucky people for over a decade. He gave both groups identical newspapers and asked them to count the photographs. The unlucky people took about 2 minutes to count the photos. The lucky people took seconds. Why? Because on page 2, there was a message in huge letters. Stop counting. There are 43 photographs in this newspaper. The unlucky people missed it. The lucky people saw it immediately. Luck isn't random. Lucky people have trained themselves to notice opportunities that others miss. They operate with a different psychological framework, a core belief that creates what we call luck, the real differentiator. So if it's not talent, hard work, or luck, what separates the elite from everyone else? It's what psychologists call a meta-belief, a belief about beliefs themselves. Elite performers have discovered something that the average person hasn't. They believe that their fundamental abilities can be developed. This sounds simple. It's not. This belief rewires your entire nervous system, changes how you process failure, alters what you pay attention to, and literally restructures your brain. Welcome to the Elite Code, the neuroscience of elite belief. Let me show you what happens inside the brain of someone who's cracked the elite code. Because the neuroscience is absolutely mind-blowing. The two brain networks. Dr. Jason Moser at Michigan State University hooked people up to IG machines and monitored their brains while they made mistakes. He discovered something that changed everything we thought we knew about learning and achievement. When average people make mistakes, their brains show activity in what's called the threat detection network. It's the same network that activates when you're being chased by a predator. The brain interprets the mistake as danger, triggering fight-or-flight responses that shut down learning. But elite performers, their brains activate the growth network instead. Mistakes trigger curiosity, not fear. Their brains literally see errors as data, not threats. Same mistake, completely different neurological response. This isn't just interesting, it's the secret to accelerated learning. The neuroplasticity revolution. For 100 years, scientists believed the adult brain was fixed. You were born with a certain number of neurons, and that was it. This belief created a culture of intellectual fatalism. Either you had it or you didn't. Then, Dr. Michael Merzenich at UCSF made a discovery that shattered this worldview. He proved that the adult brain remains plastic, constantly rewiring itself based on experience and belief. But here's the crucial part. Neuroplasticity isn't automatic. Your brain only rewires when you believe it can. The elite have somehow figured this out instinctively. The myelin mystery. Dr. Daniel Coyle, author of The Talent Code, investigated something called myelin, a fatty tissue that wraps around neural pathways. The more myelin, the faster and more accurate your neural signals become. Elite performers have 50% more myelin in skill-related brain areas than average performers. But here's what's shocking. Myelin only grows when you struggle at the edge of your ability while believing you can improve. The elite don't avoid struggle. They seek it out because they understand it's literally growing their brains. The stress response flip. Dr. Alia Crum at Stanford made a revolutionary discovery about stress. She showed that people who believe stress is enhancing rather than debilitating actually perform better under pressure and live longer. Same stress, different belief, completely different physiological response. Elite performers have somehow learned to reframe challenges, setbacks, and even failures as evidence that they're growing, not proof that they're inadequate. The attention revolution. Most people's attention is hijacked by what Dr. Barbara Fredrickson calls the negativity bias. We're evolutionarily wired to focus on threats and problems. But elite performers have rewired their attention systems. fMRI studies show they spend 60% more time focusing on solutions rather than problems, opportunities rather than obstacles. This isn't positive thinking, it's strategic attention allocation. They've trained their brains to automatically look for what will help them improve rather than what might go wrong. The chemical advantage. When someone with the elite code faces a challenge, their brain releases different chemicals than the average person. More dopamine, motivation, and learning enhancement. Less cortisol, stress hormone that impairs thinking. More BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, literally grows new brain cells. Increased norepinephrine focus and attention. They're not just thinking differently, they're operating with a superior brain chemistry profile. The elite code isn't just a mindset, it's a complete neurobiological transformation. The Stanford breakthrough. Now let me tell you about the study that changed everything. Dr. Carol Dweck's research at Stanford didn't just discover the elite code, it proved that anyone can adopt it. But the results were so dramatic, so counterintuitive, that it took years for the scientific community to accept them. The 400-student experiment. Dweck took 400 fifth graders and gave them a simple puzzle test. When they finished, she divided them into two groups and gave each group different feedback. Group A, fixed mindset. Wow, you got 8 out of 10 correct. You're really smart. Group B, growth mindset. Wow, you got 8 out of 10 correct. You must have worked really hard. Same performance, tiny difference in praise. What happened next shocked everyone. The second test results. For the second test, Dweck offered students a choice. An easy test that they'd probably do well on, or a hard test that they'd learn from but might struggle with. 90% of the smart group chose the easy test. They wanted to protect their identity as smart kids. 90% of the hard work group chose the difficult test. They wanted to learn and improve. The elite code was already emerging. Elite performers seek challenges while average performers avoid them. The devastating third test. For the final test, Dweck gave everyone problems that were too difficult for fifth graders. Everyone failed, but their responses to failure revealed the true power of the elite code. Fixed mindset group lost confidence in their abilities, no longer enjoyed the puzzles, assumed they weren't smart after all. When given easier problems afterward, their scores dropped 20%. Growth mindset group maintained confidence despite failure, found the difficult problems energizing, assumed they just needed better strategies when given easier problems afterward. Their scores improved 30%. Same failure, opposite responses. The growth mindset group had cracked the elite code. They saw failure as information, not identity. The long-term follow-up, Dweck, followed these students for 2 years. The results were staggering. Students praised for intelligence-fixed mindset, showed declining grades and increasing anxiety about challenges. Students praised for effort and strategy growth mindset, showed consistently improving grades and actively sought out harder courses. A single sentence of feedback had created 2 completely different trajectories. The corporate validation. Microsoft was struggling with innovation and employee engagement. They implemented growth mindset training across the organization. Within 18 months, employee engagement scores increased 10%. Revenue grew by $71 billion. Stock price doubled. Innovation metrics improved 35%. The elite code wasn't just academic theory. It was transforming one of the world's largest corporations. The athletic proof. Dr. Dweck partnered with professional sports psychologists to study elite athletes. They found that champions in every sport, from tennis to swimming to basketball, shared the same core belief: abilities are built, not born. They studied failure differently. Average athletes: I lost because I'm not good enough. Elite athletes: I lost because my strategy needs adjustment. They approach training differently. Average athletes focused on looking good, avoiding mistakes. Elite athletes focused on getting better. Seeking harder challenges, they handled criticism differently. Average athletes took feedback personally, became defensive. Elite athletes saw feedback as data for improvement. The elite code was showing up everywhere: in business, sports, academics, and personal relationships. Why 87% of people reject the elite code? Here's where things get uncomfortable. I mentioned earlier that 87% of people reject the elite code when they first encounter it. This isn't because they're stupid or stubborn. It's because accepting the elite code requires destroying some deeply held psychological protections. Let me explain why your brain is probably fighting this information right now. Protection mechanism number 1. The ego defense. Dr. Jennifer Aaker at Stanford discovered that most people have built their entire identity around being naturally good at certain things. Admitting that abilities are built rather than born threatens this identity. If you've spent 20 years believing you're naturally creative or just not a math person, the elite code suggests those labels are fiction. Your brain resists this because it would mean reconstructing your entire self-concept. This is why truly successful people often seem egoless. They've abandoned the need to be naturally talented in favor of being continuously improving. Protection mechanism number 2. The effort paradox. Professor Heidi Grant Halverson from Columbia University identified something called effort stigma. In many cultures, having to try hard is seen as evidence of inadequacy. We admire natural talent because it seems effortless. We're embarrassed by struggle because it reveals limitations. The elite code flips this completely. It suggests that struggle is the process of becoming elite. Most people would rather maintain the illusion of untapped potential than face the reality of required effort. Protection mechanism number 3. The responsibility terror. Here's the most uncomfortable truth. If abilities are built rather than born, then your current level of success is largely your responsibility. You can't blame genetics, circumstances, or luck. You have to admit that where you are now is the result of your beliefs, choices, and strategies up to this point. Dr. Barry Schwartz calls this the paradox of choice. The more control we have, the more responsible we become for outcomes. Many people unconsciously prefer to believe in fixed limitations because it removes the burden of possibility. Protection mechanism number 4. The imposter insurance. Psychologist Dr. Pauline Clance discovered that high achievers often suffer from imposter syndrome, the fear that they'll be exposed as frauds. Ironically, believing in fixed talent makes imposter syndrome worse. If you think success comes from natural ability, you'll constantly worry that someone will discover you don't really have it. The elite code eliminates imposter syndrome by removing the myth of natural talent. You're not pretending to be smart. You're actively building intelligence. The cultural programming Dr. Jin Lee from Brown University studied achievement beliefs across cultures and found that Western cultures are uniquely obsessed with natural talent. Eastern cultures traditionally emphasize effort and improvement. This might explain why students from these cultures often outperform Western students despite no differences in natural ability. We've been culturally programmed to resist the elite code, even though it's the key to peak performance. The fixed mindset addiction. Here's something disturbing. Research shows that people with fixed mindsets actually become addicted to easy success. They get dopamine hits from tasks they're already good at, avoiding challenges that would help them grow. It's like being addicted to junk food while avoiding nutrition. The elite code requires giving up the immediate satisfaction of being naturally good for the longer-term reward of continuous improvement. The social pressure. Dr. Dweck found that people often resist adopting growth mindsets because their social groups reinforce fixed thinking. Families that label children the smart one, the athletic one. Schools that sort students into ability tracks. Workplaces that talk about high performers versus average performers. Friends who bond over shared limitations we're just not good at. Adopting the elite code often means challenging the limiting beliefs of people around you. This requires social courage that many people lack. Section 5. The elite code implementation system. Now for the practical part. How do you actually adopt the elite code? How do you rewire decades of fixed mindset programming? I'm going to give you a complete system based on the latest research in behavioral change and neuroplasticity. Phase 1. The Belief Audit, Week 1. Before you can adopt new beliefs, you need to identify your current ones. Dr. Dweck developed a simple assessment. Write down your responses to these scenarios. 1. You fail at something important to you. What is the first thought that comes to your mind? 2. Someone criticizes your work. You feel. 3. You see someone excel at something you struggle with. What do you think? 4. You're offered a challenge that might make you look bad. What is your response? Here are some fixed mindset responses. You say, I'm not good enough. I don't have talent for this. You become defensive, angry, or defeated. You say, they're naturally gifted. I could never do that. You avoid the challenge to protect your image. Here are instead growth mindset responses. I need a better strategy. This is data for improvement. You become curious about what you can learn. I wonder what they did to get so good. What can I learn? You take the challenge as an opportunity to grow. Most people discover they're more fixed-minded than they realized. Phase 2. Language rewiring, week 2 to 4. Dr. Dweck found that changing your language is the fastest way to change your beliefs. Replace these common phrases. Instead of, I am not good at this, say, I am not good at this yet. Instead of, I failed, say, I learned what doesn't work. Instead of, this is too hard, say, this will help me grow. Instead of, I can't do math, art, public speaking, say, I haven't developed these skills yet. Instead of, she's so talented, say, she's put in incredible effort to develop those abilities. This isn't just positive thinking. You're literally rewiring neural pathways through conscious language choice. Phase 3. The struggle reframe, week 3 to 6. Elite performers have learned to love the feeling of being at the edge of their ability. Dr. Coyle calls this productive struggle. Create a daily struggle practice. 1. Choose one skill you want to develop. 2. Find your struggle zone where you fail 15 to 20% of the time. 3. Practice for 15 to 20 minutes daily at this difficulty level. 4. Celebrate the struggle. Remind yourself that difficulty means growth. 5. Track improvement. Document small wins to reinforce the growth process. The goal isn't to eliminate struggle. It's to develop comfort with productive discomfort. Phase 4. Failure forensics, week 5 to 8. Elite performers don't just accept failure. They study it systematically. Create a weekly failure review process. Every Sunday, ask yourself, 1. What didn't go as planned this week? 2. What specific factors contributed to this outcome? 3. What could I do differently next time? 4. What skills do I need to develop? 5. What resources or support do I need? 6. How can I test a new approach? Transform failure from something that happens to you into data that guides your development. Phase 5. The Challenge Ladder, week 6 to 12. Dr. Erickson discovered that elite performers constantly seek desirable difficulties, challenges that stretch their abilities without overwhelming them. Build your personal challenge ladder. Rung 1. Something you can do but requires focus. Rung 2. Something you can sometimes do with effort. Rung 3. Something you fail at 50% of the time. Rung 4. Something currently beyond your ability. Spend 80% of your practice time on rungs 2 and 3. This is where growth happens fastest. Phase 6. The Growth Network, week 8+. Elite performers surround themselves with people who reinforce growth thinking. Audit your social environment. Identify people who celebrate your efforts, not just outcomes. Share their own learning and growth stories. Ask, what did you learn? Instead of, did you win? Challenge you to take on bigger goals. Model continuous improvement in their own lives. Distance yourself from people who reinforce fixed mindset language. Focus only on natural talent or luck. Discourage you from taking on challenges. Make you feel bad about failures or mistakes. Your belief system is heavily influenced by the people around you. Section 6. The Elite Code in Action. Let me show you what happens when people actually implement the Elite Code. These aren't feel-good stories. They're documented case studies that prove the transformative power of growth mindset. Case Study 1. The math-phobic CEO, Sarah Chen, now CEO of a $2 billion tech company, failed algebra 3 times in high school. Her teachers told her she didn't have a math brain. She believed them for 20 years. At 38, her company needed her to understand complex financial models. Instead of hiring someone else, she decided to test the Elite Code. She adopted the belief that mathematical ability could be developed. Her approach started with middle school math concepts practiced 30 minutes daily, focusing on areas where she struggled, reframed mistakes as data points for improvement, found a tutor who emphasized process over natural ability. Results after 18 months, passed advanced corporate finance certification, led her company through a complex IPO, now teaches other executives that math anxiety is learned, not born. Case Study 2. The tone-deaf musician Marcus Johnson was told he was tone-deaf in elementary school music class. He believed it for 35 years, never singing or playing instruments. After learning about neuroplasticity, he decided to challenge this limiting belief. He hypothesized that pitch recognition could be trained. His method started with pitch matching apps for 10 minutes daily, joined a beginner's choir that emphasized improvement over talent, studied music theory to understand the logic behind melodies, celebrated small improvements instead of comparing himself to naturals. Results: after 2 years, learned to play piano and guitar, joined a community band as a vocalist, discovered he had been confusing untrained with untalented. Case Study 3. The Antisocial Entrepreneur. David Kim described himself as naturally introverted and bad with people. This belief limited his business growth for years. He avoided networking, presentations, and sales conversations. He decided to apply Elite Code principles to social skills, treating charisma as learnable rather than innate. His systematic approach studied conversation patterns of successful networkers, practiced small talk in low-stakes environments, joined Toastmasters to develop presentation skills, tracked social interactions and analyzed what worked, sought feedback from trusted colleagues. Results after 18 months. Increased revenue 300% through improved client relationships. Became a sought-after keynote speaker. Built a team of 50 employees through effective hiring and leadership. The neuroscience of transformation. Dr. Alvaro Pasqualeone at Harvard used brain imaging to track people adopting growth mindsets. After just 8 weeks of Elite Code implementation, scans showed increased gray matter in learning-related brain regions, stronger connections between prefrontal cortex and emotional centers, reduced activity in threat detection networks during challenges, enhanced neuroplasticity markers. The elite code doesn't just change how you think, it physically rewires your brain for peak performance. The compound effect, the most powerful aspect of the elite code, is compounding. One small daily improvements in belief and behavior create exponential results over time. Research by Dr. James Clear shows 1% daily improvement equals 37 times better after 1 year. 1% daily decline equals nearly zero after 1 year. The difference between growth and fixed mindset compounds dramatically over decades. Elite performers understand that mastery isn't a destination. It's a process of continuous improvement enabled by the right core beliefs. Your elite code activation. Here's the moment of truth. You now understand the elite code, the core belief that separates peak performers from everyone else. You know the neuroscience behind it, the research that proves it, and the practical steps to implement it. But knowledge isn't transformation. The elite code only works if you actually adopt it. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Most people won't. Most people will watch this video, nod along, maybe even feel inspired, and then go back to their fixed mindset patterns. They'll continue believing that abilities are born, not built. They'll keep avoiding challenges, fearing failure, and settling for average. The 72-hour window. Behavioral research shows you have 72 hours to take action on new insights before your brain returns to default patterns. Your elite code activation window is closing. Here's your immediate next step. Choose one belief about your abilities that you're ready to challenge. Just one. Maybe it's, I'm not creative. I'm bad with technology. I don't have leadership potential. I'm not good at public speaking. I can't learn new languages. Write it down. Then rewrite it with elite code language. I haven't developed these skills yet. Your 30-day elite code challenge. I want you to commit to 30 days of elite code living. Here's your daily practice. 1. Morning belief check, 2 minutes. Start each day by affirming my abilities grow through effort and good strategies. 2. Struggle session, 15 minutes. Practice something at the edge of your current ability. 3. Failure forensics, 5 minutes. When something doesn't go well, ask, what can I learn from this? 4. Evening growth journal, 3 minutes. Write one thing you improved today, no matter how small. Join the elite code community. Drop a comment below with the one limiting belief you're ready to challenge. I read every comment and I'll personally respond to as many as possible. Let's create a community of people who refuse to accept fixed limitations. The elite choice. You have a choice right now. You can close this video and continue believing that success comes from talent, luck, and natural ability. You can keep avoiding challenges, fearing failure, and wondering why others seem to have advantages you don't. Or you can join the elite. You can adopt the core belief that abilities are built through effort, strategy, and persistence. You can start seeing challenges as opportunities, failures as data, and struggles as growth. The elite aren't born different. They just believe different. The elite code isn't a secret anymore. The question is, what will you do with it? Hit subscribe if you're ready to crack your own elite code. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. And remember, your potential isn't fixed, it's infinite. Welcome to the elite.